All right, this is the February 4th meeting of the Westport Conservation Commission. We'll begin by saluting the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We've got Brendan Donadio or Donacio? Donacio?
Yeah. So here are the green cards and then certified mail that I sent it to Chris Leonard, Harbor Master. And here is a quad locus and just a couple of photographs of the site. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Alan Haru and I'm a registered professional civil engineer. For this hearing, I'm representing Brenda and Jennifer Donacio, who own a house at 104 Sylvius Lane on the shore of the Westport River East Branch. We propose a 73-foot long fixed pier, 20-foot gangway, and a 20-foot by 10-foot float, 10 by 20-foot float. The Record Waterways License Plan is dated December 18th, 2024, and there are 4 sheets to the plan set. I have enlarged the first sheet and colored it up a little bit on the easel there. Along this shore is a stone masonry seawall with a short stone masonry pier or groin and a concrete patio on the southern side of the lot. The proposed pier extends from the concrete patio next to an alcove in the seawall for landing small boats and kayaks. So this is the house, the yellow is the property line, and along the shore here, as I said, is a masonry stone retaining wall, seawall. There's a little alcove here with a little sandy spot where they can, as you can see in the picture there, when Wayne Manchester and his father were helping me with the bathymetric survey, they slid their boat in there, but they can bring kayaks in there as well. And then on this southerly end here, there's a solid fill pier or groin here. So what we wanted to do is bring the pier off of this concrete patio here. So we've got a fixed pier coming out to a gangway and float, and the float is located in the minimum depth recommended by the Division of Marine Fisheries. So the deck elevation of the proposed pier is 3.5 feet above the concrete patio. Wooden stairs are proposed at the landward end of the pier. The float is located at the edge of a deep channel where the water depth below the float is 2.6 feet minimum in accordance with Mass Department of Marine Fisheries guidelines. The float will be anchored by 4 pilots. The location and deck elevation of the pier has been reviewed and approved by Brendan Mullaney, Chief of the DEP Waterways Regulation Program, with additional signage on the pier regarding lateral access around the landward end of the pier. So in this case, I sent up to Brendan Mullaney at the DEP. He's the chief of the Waterways Program now. Nice guy. And I sent him that exhibit to show him that I was proposing the pier equidistant between the 2 adjacent piers, and that as a result the pier is 14 feet from the property line, and the state requires 25 feet where feasible. So he asked that I get a letter from the abutter to the south, which I did, from Karen Castengay. I had designed her pier years ago, just saying that she approves of the plan. So the pier location is actually equidistant between the 2 adjacent piers. Dave Pichette, wetlands consultant, performed an eelgrass survey at the property on September 3rd, 2024, and no eelgrass was observed within the project area. His report to the commission is dated September 3rd, 2024. As I said, we received a letter from the abutter, Karen Castingay, dated December 5th, 2024, expressing her approval of the project. We also received a letter from Amanda Davis, environmental analyst, Division of Marine Fisheries, dated January 21st, 2025, and I believe her comments are favorable, a little bit confusing, but I think they're favorable. And lastly, the DEP file number is SE80-2781. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members, this is not Brian, this is Brendan Donaccio, 104 Sylvia's Lane. This is a notice of intent application filed by Haru Engineering. Report date is January 27, 2025. The file number for this project is SE802781. Agencies that have been contacted or information received from is Mass Division of Marine Fisheries and the Marine Services Director. Site visit was on January 27th, 2025. Description of the work. The owner has filed to license an existing masonry pier, seawall, and construct a new 73-foot fixed pier with a 20-foot gangway out to a 10 by 20 float on the east branch of the Westport River. The float will have the 30-inch separation to the bottom of the river at low tide, and float stops are not required. The reflective tape to be installed on the seaward sides of the float per Marine Services comments. Public access is being provided for this dock with signage to walk around the landward end of the pier for lateral access. So this sign will be placed on the pier per suggestion of the Waterways Program. Eelgrass survey was provided and showed none within this proposed pier location. The dock as designed meets the town dock policy. And finally, Mass DMF comments received with support of this proposed design. Recommendations for the project: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed new dock, gangway, and float, and licensing of the stone pier seawall with standard dock conditions for Brendan Donaccio, SE802781. That is all, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, thanks, Chris. Any questions, comments?
No?
No. Anyone on the commission?
No.
No? Okay. If not, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, it's Jake and Phil. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. All right, Jose Ribeiro, RDA 100 Charlotte White Road, construct a barn in a buffer zone.
Yes, Yep, thank you. Again, I have this project as well. Again, for the record, my name is Alan Haru. For this request for determination of applicability, I'm representing Joseph and Linda Ribeiro.
We're going to take the COC after he does this.
Okay, yeah.
At the end, because they kind of go together.
You want to do
Right,
it?
while he's here, yeah. do
Yeah, okay,
his
perfect.
Presentation
Okay,
first,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
Joe and Linda Ribeiro, who own a house at 100 Charlotte White Road. We propose a 40-foot by 60-foot barn at the edge of an existing gravel driveway in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. The BVW on the property was delineated by Jonathan Schuster, environmental analyst, Oxbow Associates. The record plan is entitled Site Plan Showing Proposed Barn, dated January 20th, 2025. So this is right next to the last stop garage on Charlotte White Road, behind it actually, to the south. So there's a long driveway off of Charlotte White Road. And then this is the building envelope here. There's the easterly property line. And there's a bordering vegetated wetland along this westerly side of the entire property. The existing house is located here, septic system, driveway, all of this is existing. So what we're proposing is the barn in this location here, and we're adjacent to the driveway, and we're proposing an erosion control barrier between the proposed work and the wetland area. The erosion control barrier is 50 to 56 feet away from the wetland, so it's at the outer edge of the buffer zone. And I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Mr. Chairman and members, this is Joe Ribeiro, 100 Charlotte White Road. This is a request for determination of applicability filed by Haru Engineering. The report date is January 28, 2025. The site visit was also on January 27, 2025. Description of the work: the applicant is filed to construct a detached garage within 50 feet of the existing wetland. The owner had a previous approval for a larger barn on their expired order of conditions, SC 802474. The certificate of compliance is on this agenda. The barn will be smaller than was previously approved, and work is maintaining a 50-foot setback. The prior disturbance was 25. Erosion controls should be installed around the work area and maintained until the disturbed areas are stabilized. Again, this is a buffer zone project. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed bond with a negative box 3 determination. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any questions or comments from anyone? If not, look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Jake and Kevin, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. And Alan, you can stay there, we'll do the certificate of compliance.
Okay, thank you.
You'll be done.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
On the backside.
Back. All right, again, is it Jose or Joe?
Joe, I think.
Joe, right?
Jose Joe, that's.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Once in a while we have typos, just want to make sure.
No,
Okay,
How
all
do
right.
you-
Okay.
How do you pronounce the last name?
Ribeiro.
Ribeiro,
I didn't
okay.
think it was
All right.
Irio.
Okay. Say Ribeiro, SE 80-2474, certificate of compliance.
Thank you. This is Joe Ribeiro, 100 Charlotte White Road. Certificate of compliance requested from the engineer on record of Alan Haru. The file number for this project is SE 802474. The date of this report is January 28, 2025. Again, the site visit was on January 27, 2025. The owner has filed with a letter from the design engineer supporting all work was completed except a barn on site. The area is stabilized and completed according to the plan of record. Again, this request for the permission recommendations: the Westport Conservation should approve the certificate of compliance with the full release with file number SE 802474 with all work except the bond was completed. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any questions or comments? If not, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve certificate of compliance.
Second.
All right, it's Jake and Phil, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
All right.
All right, guys. Good night.
All right, Jenna Cermoli, notice of intent, 0 River Road, construct single-family dwelling with driveway, garage, and other site improvements in the buffer zone and bordering vegetated wetlands.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the applicant, they have requested a continuance for some comments that I rendered on the project. They requested a continuance till March 4th, 2025 meeting.
Okay, looking for a motion
Motion
to
to continue.
continue
Second.
to March 4th. That's Jake and Kevin. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. So, on a nothing to sign, right, on that?
No.
No. Let's see, Blue Cat, Pine Ridge Estates, 45-62 Golfview Lane, Westport Lane, to construct independent living facility in a buffer zone.
Good evening, John Marchand from Farland Corp. Here on behalf of the applicant. Not sure who I give the green cards to. Yeah, thank you. So the applicant's proposing to construct 38 single-family homes and associated roadway and drainage utility infrastructure. The total parcel area for this site is over 100 acres. What they're looking to do is cut off approximately 25 acres for this development. It's going to result in approximately 16 acres of disturbance. The wetlands shown on this plan were approved through an ORAD issued by the Commission in May 2021. So those were automatically extended, so the ORAD is valid till May 2026. Topography for the site. It'd be easier if I put up my easement.
We'll have to do an override next year, we can buy our own easels.
I go upstairs. I'm afraid if I leave it here, I'll get confiscated.
So topography generally slopes from the upland areas to the east of our site and to the west of our site along Westport Lakes Road. And then there's the two wetland systems in the middle of the site. The easel's not much better. So this project was initially proposed to the board. It was a independent living facility with, I believe, 48 units and 38 structures and a community building. This plan is 38 single-family homes. It utilizes the same roadway infrastructure, drainage infrastructure. It's just 37 single-family, or 38 single-family homes as opposed to the 48 units that were previously proposed. The development will be served by a community on-site sewage disposal system, which will be located along the eastern portion of the site closest to Westport Lakes Road. All of the proposed single-family homes will be located on the west side of the wetland system. The roadway extending from Westport Lakes Road to the proposed roadway with the frontage for the houses is approximately 970 feet. The other roadway with the frontage is approximately 1,975 feet with a cul-de-sac turnaround at the north and south ends. Stormwater for the site will be collected in storm scepter water quality units and directed to, there are 5 stormwater basins throughout the site. And those would treat and temporarily store the runoff before releasing it toward the wetland. The project's currently in front of ZBA. We did receive a peer review that we're working to address those comments, but have not fully addressed their comments yet, so we have an ongoing review with ZBA. I'd be glad to answer any of the commission's questions.
Okay, well, let Chris read his report and then we'll address questions.
Mr. Chairman and members, this is Blue Cat LLC, or now Pine Ridge Estates, which is a 40B comprehensive permit application. The location of this project is off of Westport Lakes Road via a cul-de-sac called Gulfview Lane, which will extend to that T fashion access way for those 38 single-family dwellings. This is a notice of intent application that came before us under a previously review from engineering company CEC. The company before you now representing Pine Ridge Estates is Farland Corporation. The report is dated January 28, 2025. There is a file number for this project. It was pre-existing from the previous review, and this is SE 802697. This application is still valid, so I felt it was best to utilize the current file number, despite us never finally approving the project at that point. It got denied by the planning board and kind of just sat idle in the office. As the gentleman mentioned, this is currently under a ZBA ongoing review for this 40B application. The 40B application overrides most local zoning requirements and other agencies except Conservation and the Board of Health. Site visit was also on January 28, 2025. Description of the work: the applicant, Pine Ridge Estates, has resubmitted a proposed 40B application to construct 38 single-family homes off of Westport Lakes Road. The project is pending with the ZBA. This is the same roadway design that was previously reviewed. It is no longer a 55 and over community. As I mentioned, it is 38 single-family homes. Gulfview Lane will be constructed off of Westport Lakes Road and will terminate at a cul-de-sac. A 2,450-foot roadway will extend westerly and easterly along the uplands. A portion of Gulfview Lane and the Extension Road are within the buffer zone. The majority of the work in the Commission's jurisdiction is for the 5 stormwater basins designed along the bordering vegetated wetland. The Conservation Commission at the time had a third-party review done by Field Engineering. Their review, in my quick observation, I thought that this plan had represented some of those field engineering comments, but to my finding out later, it has not. So that comment should not be taken lightly in this case, because they still had some strong comment reviews from this third party from the ZBA. So these stormwater basins, by design, will achieve the 80% TSS removal of total suspended solids. There is currently a third-party review being conducted by zoning board as well. And these basins currently are designed with a 2-foot separation of groundwater, which is required. They have since got comments, as the gentleman again has mentioned, and quite lengthy comments on general subdivision rules and regs. There were a few in our general location, but not more than what I am discussing with you tonight. The project will construct, again, 38 single-family homes with wells on each individual lot. Lot numbers 1 and 34 through 38 will have the single-family house within the buffer zone. Other lots on the east side will have some associated grading and wells within the buffer zone. A limit of work will be staked in the field and erosion controls installed at that point. All roof runoff from the homes will be directed to discharge below grade in an infiltration type setup. That was one of the comments. Those details weren't really provided. An NPDES permit under EPA will be required for this project. A stormwater pollution prevention plan, or a SWIP, should be provided for the construction and prior to the start of construction. An operation and maintenance plan is included within this stormwater packet. Mass DEP stormwater checklist has also been provided. The applicant, under the comprehensive permit requirements, has applied for approvals, as I mentioned, through the ZBA. I'm suggesting that we should consider in our issuance of a final order that this maybe be looked at as in a phased development fashion, where maybe we have them cut half the project first phase and the second phase be the opposing side, but that yet has to be discussed with the ZBA's final proceedings. To that, they have allowed the ZBA to have a continuance on the extension of the amount of time the town has to make a decision. I'm not sure when that final date is, but I know it's been continued for a couple months. So the Wetlands Protection Act requirement under Chapter 131, Section 40, 10.054E, states to obtain or apply for all obtainable permits, variances, and approvals required by the local bylaw with respect to the proposed activity shall only mean those that are feasible to obtain at the time the NOI is filed. Permits required by local bylaws may include zoning variances, permits from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This also further states when applicant comprehensive permit has received a determination from the zoning board granting or denying, and in this case of a denial, well, not in this case, but in the case of a denial, has appealed to the housing committee, said applicant shall be deemed to have applied for all permits obtainable at the time of the filing. So what I'm trying to say with that is, I don't think the commission in any right should be considering making a decision at this time because that permit hasn't been issued or granted by the ZBA. And I think that that is one of the permits that they should have prior to them coming before us. But I had asked the engineer to come forth to activate the continued pursuit of this order of conditions by naming the new applicant, Pine Ridge Estates, and also giving us this new packet to start the process for our final reviews. I don't feel we need to do a third-party review, seeing that it's just been done thoroughly by the company the ZBA hired, but I do think that we should wait again. So recommendations, the Westport Conservation is recommended to continue the hearing until such time the Zoning Board of Appeals has made a decision and the final plan design in accordance with the pending third-party review by the ZBA has been agreed to. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So you said the whole parcel is 100 acres,
Yeah, it's over 100 acres.
and with 26 acres is being
Yeah, it's
developed?
breaking off 25 acres. Basically this, from here, goes, I don't know if it's on,
It's all almost way to Briggs Road.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
the parcel extends further to the north.
What's the plan for the remaining 70-some acres?
There's no plan at this time.
Would that, has there been any talk of like a conservation restrictions or anything with that remaining?
Not at
land,
this
or-
time.
No?
No. Again, not to get in the whole history of Westport Lakes. Westport Lakes was a permit application submitted to MIPA in the end because of them exceeding the thresholds for activity within endangered species habitat. That habitat area has since been removed from this property because of whatever species is not of special concern any longer. I think it might have been the spotted turtles, but I'm not sure. So this area is no longer designated. There was a restriction that held onto that development to not develop the far northerly acreage. This piece that he's referring to was kind of in the mix, but there was some removal of this area for development. So there's a little more to this whole project than that. I don't think this is under our purview, but I believe in my eyes that that is no longer valid, that conservation restriction, because there is no reason to protect that area if there's no longer that species of concern. But with that, there are some concerns for Westport Lakes' existence, and that covenant may have expired. So the planning board is asking the current owners to come forward and establish what needs to be done, what has been done, to get that subdivision on record as being in the right direction and proceeding to get it approved by the town. Right now, it's a private roadway. So with the town's zoning requirements, we have dead-end requirements. So with the ZBA's 40B application, you no longer have to have those requirements. We have a 1,200-foot distance requirement where you need another exit. This Westport Lakes Road is 2,500 feet currently, and now it's going to another 2,400 foot. So there are some overriding concerns, but not to bore this gentleman or the
Yeah.
board. Those things are being hatched out now before the ZBA through the applicant of Pine Ridge Estates, through the current owners of Westport Lakes, and also the mix. There are currently 6 or 7 homeowners within the Westport Lakes development that obviously are very concerned in what is to come of this road and what circumstances have been allowed to date. So there's been something that has fallen through the cracks with the final review from planning board and holding covenants in place. So that's for our we should wait till that's finalized. And once that comes into play, the ZBA has done a very thorough review, and we should have more insight into what direction we should go. I think you
Yep.
fully agree with that.
Yeah, it's a big project.
So,
Chris, did this project originally have a road access issue? And where it was potentially tampered with, or is this a different project?
this is a different project.
Okay, okay.
This
Okay.
project had another extension off of Westport Lakes that was supposed to go further, so that was never done. So
Okay.
again, there's a lot of some work that wasn't done as far as replication hasn't been done in that first phase. And for everyone's input, this was going to be a 9-hole golf course. This was to be American Links in the very late 90s, and what the whole process went through was utilizing the land for a golf course, irrigation, and some sort of residential use. And somehow the golf course all fell apart, and we ended up with just the residential side of things.
I was gonna ask, where'd that name come from? Where's the golf?
Yeah, yeah. That's what it originally was. It was the landowner's original goal was to get a 9, and he did extensive amount of detailed plans. He came before this board and actually got an approval, and then it was superseded by the DEP. So currently the DEP holds the control of that final Westport Lakes granting of that construction.
So what's the, I mean, there's a little bit of variation, but what's the average lot size? I think
Those are 10,000 square foot lots plus. They don't have to meet zoning, as I
Is there
mentioned.
a community well? What do they do for
They're
water?
having individual wells on site. Some of these wells are within 25 to less than 50 feet of each other.
They need to look at the issue they had with Nokichoke Village.
Well,
If you're gonna
that-
put 38
this
houses
is-
in there and have a
This is a
water issue.
project that's staying under the thresholds to exceed to have a public water supply based on gallons per day.
But if you're
to
still
the
pulling
septic
from the
system.
same source, it doesn't matter whether you're pulling from a public water supply.
So
or
yes,
38
this
wells.
is gonna be a tough thing for drilling that number of wells in that close influence of each other, so. It can be done, but there may be some issues with someone.
Let me know during a drought in August when no one has
Well,
water there.
That I'm sure would all be anticipated. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I was gonna, just related to this last part, which is that I think I got a copy of the comments from the ZBA, and one of the issues that came up was whether all the wells met the distance, the 100-foot separation distance from septic systems for a couple of them. And so anyway, I support, continuing it. And to say, just in the interest of continuity and wearing my Board of Health hat, is that in looking through the comments of the third-party reviewer who went through the various regulations, failed to identify that there is a separate stormwater regulation, local stormwater regulation, which is enforced by the Board of Health, and a lot of it is stormwater talk, which I can't, understand. But there are also some significant provisions related to the operation and maintenance plan. You can go on our website and look up under regulations, and it's the one related to stormwater quantity and quality, and to look at those, and so I suggest that so you don't come before, so we have continuity among so everyone is got a coherent plan that touches all the bases on all the regulations. So and so that would be good, and so I provided the ZBA with a copy of the stormwater regulations, and also with the the third-party review that Chris referred to, the for 2023, there is a lot of overlap, but again, I think it'd just be worth having, you know, a coherent stormwater plan, and I support Chris's suggestion of looking at it phased, because I think, at least I don't remember maybe there is, you know, just all the stormwater control during the construction process, you know, and the foresting process, before all the, you know, all the detention basins are all put in at the end, you know, so that we're not having stormwater problems while the construction's occurring. That's it for me.
I'll certainly double check that the Port Al stormwater requirements.
Yeah.
Through the chair, may I ask, do you know in what time frame? I know you guys gave the ZBA an extension. Do you know what we should continue this to?
Well, I know our next meeting is the 19th of February, which would put us at least into March.
I think it was June, I'm gonna say it's like the first week in June, that it was agreed that I think the ZBA had to make a decision by June 6th.
Okay.
But I don't know that they won't have
So
previous meetings. I think it just depends on when the applicant comes back and says, okay.
I would
We're ready to
suggest
review.
this. Do you know what the second meeting in March is, Leon?
18th.
March 19th? 18th is, that's what I suggest at this time,
Yep.
okay?
And if we are
And
still
then
there.
at
and
that
then
time,
we-
I will know whether or not to extend it further. So with your agreement, I would ask the board to make a motion to continue to March 18th, 2025.
Yeah. I just have one more question. This has nothing to really do with Concom, just my own curiosity. Where would construction begin in a project like that? Would you start on the outside and work in? I'm only thinking about the people that move in, they buy the first couple units. They're gonna have trucks in and out of there for years. So would they start like at the ends of the T and work their way in? Is it just,
That's a
depends
good
on like
question.
who buys what lot, or?
Yeah, and it's an affordable housing development, so I know that they would have to have so many affordable units.
And
as
they'll
they-
release only so many at a time, I would
Right.
guess, until
Right.
you're allowed to have more. So second to that, they have to get a well in the ground and tested
Yep.
before they can pull a building permit for
Process.
that particular lot. So they're probably gonna get in there with to the point where they have to get a well rig in here, so they're gonna be clearing a section of the area. So that's where Phil is concerned is warranted in mind to phase this, so that they do the westerly side or the southerly side first rather, or they do the northerly section first. And when that's completed and the area is seeded, you can proceed with the road construction further.
So there's no way to expedite that construction.
But a lot of that works out of our jurisdiction
Yeah.
in general, it's just out of the buffer zone, but,
Yeah.
again, that's just,
Okay. All right, so I guess we're looking for a motion to continue to March
18.
18th, pending zoning board of appeal approval. Is that,
Yeah, I would say until such time as the ZBA moves with a decision, correct?
So moved.
Second.
okay, it's Phil and
Bert.
Bert. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, opposed? All right,
Thank you.
continue, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't leave your easel, you'll never see it again. We need one.
Surprised this one's not broken, it seems like everyone I have is broken.
I was gonna say,
Where's your fan club? Where's your fan club?
They're all here.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
All right, more continuances, Laurie Resendes, notice of intent, SE 2802779, 108 Sylvia Lane.
Here's the green card.
Good evening, Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers, representing Laurie Resendes, 108 Sylvia's Lane. This will look familiar because you had one in front of you just very similar. This is a application for a dock to meet all the requirements of the Westport dock policy. There's an existing stone jetty that we're not touching, we're not doing anything with, but we're running the first couple of sections of dock over the stone jetty. This continues further on. We're going out 32 feet with a 20-foot gangway with another 20 by 8 float. The water, you'll have more than 30 inches separation. There's about 5 feet of water there. Eelgrass, sorry, there's no eelgrass out there. It's very boulder and rock. In fact, there are a number of boulders along here. It's a navigational issue that the original applicant wanted to put it here where they own a property, but there's too many boulders to actually get in there with a boat. So they moved it over to this thing. This is just a typical dock with, like I said, it's got 4 to 5 feet of water at the float. It meets the requirements for public access underneath as it's going up from the existing ground, but we've provided a public access easement because we feel that although you're 6 feet above the water, realistically, you're blocking with the path. So it's better to have an easement that goes around the dock anyway, just for the public. I think it's convenient for everybody, rather than even though you meet the dock policy. So it's a very simple dock and float system for 108 Sylvia's Lane.
Mr. Chairman, Laurie Resendes, 108 Sylvia's Lane. This is a continuance of a notice of intent application filed by Northeast Engineers and Consultants with Sean Leach representing. The report date is January 28th, 2025. The file number is SE802779. We have received comments from Master Fisher and Marine Fisheries and Marine Services comments also. Detailed description of work. Applicant has received the comments required from the Mass DMF and the Marine Services. The dock is extending off of an existing jetty out to about 80 foot with gangway and float. The float will require, which your plan says it needs float stops, so that's my question.
Well, we always add float stops just in case, because although when you do topography, just in case there's a float, there's rocks or something there. Because when you have these old stone jetties, like we found out with the Buxton, which is further down here, you sometimes have boulders and you want to stay off the bottom.
So you still do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we still
All
put
right.
float.
So the float stops are being suggested but not required at this depth, because they do, have Sean mentioned, has adequate depth under that float. Reflective tape will be placed on 3 sides of the float per the Marine Services comments. Resource areas to be impacted. This is land containing shellfish, riverfront, and land under the river. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed pier, gangway, and float with conditions: reflective tape placed on 3 sides and of the float, and float stops can be utilized as suggested. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any questions or comments? If not, looking for a motion?
So I'll move to approve the plan for a pier, gangway, and float at 108 Sylvia's Lane.
Second.
All right, it's Phil and Kevin. Leon, those in favor?
Hey,
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. And,
This last one's been sitting in my office for way too long, so Sean
this
is
one was,
finally coming clean.
what do we, this was already signed.
This one we've been waiting for Marine Fisheries.
Someone accidentally signed it.
I think we signed it probably in error the last time.
How many people are there that are here?
Just not Yonkers.
Just not Junkers, so we have
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
Phil, Jake, Bert, and Kevin.
Perfect.
So it's still,
You don't need to sign it then.
Legit.
You got that?
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just make note.
We approved it way ahead, Jim.
Well, we were trying to get something from Amanda Davis from Marine Fisheries regarding this. Oh, I'm sorry, should we open the hearing?
Yes, you know.
Okay. Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers.
Oh, let Jason announce it. You
Okay,
can
I'm sorry.
announce it next
Okay.
year.
Oh, okay, yeah, is this Eddie Carey?
Eddie Carey, yes.
Edward Carey, 504 River Road, notice of intent.
Okay, this is something that's been kicking around for about a year now. We originally came, I think, last March with this proposal. We had a letter from Marine Fisheries, Davis Marine Fisheries, asking us to do an eelgrass survey because this is a area, this part of River Road and around the bend have known very large eelgrass beds, significant eelgrass beds. I didn't think there were any there, so in July 7th of this year, we did an eelgrass survey, which we located eelgrass beds, and there's a very narrow strip in here that widens out significantly as you go further south, and as you get around the corner from this, there's also a huge eelgrass bed going around. Those eelgrass beds are because of the depth of water. This gets very deep very quickly. You go from 0 to 10 in about 50 feet. And there's a narrow band of eelgrass. There's some spot eelgrass to here, right on that ridge where it drops off and everything. We have proposed a float on this narrow little strip here. Right now he has existing boats on what was previously licensed as basically little gangways going out to each one of these boats on a T support. He's going to eliminate all those and just basically put a compliant float system that will be off the bottom 30 inches as required, and also be spanning a small section of eelgrass. And in that small section of eelgrass, we're proposing just to do some flue throw decking. The eelgrass at that depth is about 5 feet and more. It's pretty deep there. We specifically did this eelgrass survey on July 7th because it was a moon low tide. It was as low as we could possibly get to see where we are, because it is significantly deep. The water is somewhat murky in this area, but we could easily see the eelgrass on top here. So there's two things that are being proposed. One is a float system here to replace what's going on the shore here, and allowing this bay basically to revegetate. There's a lot of eelgrass salt grass in here. And then extending the existing float that's licensed to pick up a couple more slips that's in significant 6 to 7 feet of water that is not over any eelgrass beds. So that's the water condition. We've been trying to get something out of Marine Fisheries for literally 3 months.
Now, this project also is rehabbing of his bulkheads.
Yeah, well, he has a bulkhead because last year...
The whole place is a bulkhead.
Yeah, the whole place is a wooden bulkhead that wraps around. And then the stone riprap, it got severely kind of damaged in the storms last year.
So that is something also part of this, correct?
So they are licensed. The bulkheads have all been previously licensed. It's all part of the license number 1816 from 1988.
Correct.
And we're just proposing to work as part of the notice of intent to work on those things and repair some of that. We're not doing anything else. The existing piers that are already licensed remaining, we're just adding this section of float and this section of float, taking away what is already licensed is all these little, they say gangways on T's to access boat, that basically the boats are all sitting on the bottom. It didn't make a lot of sense for anybody, and it makes his more functional and less disturbance of the bottom and in and around the shore area.
So you're suggesting if we, my recommendation is to consider approval, but would you want us to make that contingent on the DMF? Because
I don't know.
I thought they were okay with this design.
They were okay with the flue throw decking, but I couldn't get a letter out of them. I was hoping to have one tonight so that I could say we have a clean letter. They always have the same letter as they did for Resendes, where there's always concern about shellfish, water in the land and shellfish and that type of thing. She was very concerned because, and for good reason, because this area over here on the East Branch, and as Chris knows, has got a significant amount of eelgrass beds, like huge eelgrass beds. There's several people who have contacted us around the corner and put docks in. They don't have a chance in the world. It's just strictly eelgrass for 100 feet from the shoreline. This particular one, for whatever reason, I think it's because it's somewhat rocky, it's murky in here, but it drops down really deep and
This
goes
is an
really
active
deep.
marina, though. This is a very active marina on the West Branch. If anybody's familiar, Eddie's got a fairly reasonable rate marina on that section, and as Sean mentioned, there is adequate water for people to have a fairly decent sized boat.
There used to be lobster boats.
Right.
I shouldn't say this when I was younger. Up and down on this particular stretch, the fields used to keep little lobster boats there and whatnot because it was so deep.
Right, so I do agree with you on the eelgrass concern. So I think Sean has surmised most of what my report says. My concern was the bulkhead is to be reconstructed, and as Sean's referring to these 3 small piers, will be removed and will be brought together with this floating system, which is a new design and much more beneficial to, I think, the boat sitting on the bottom and the float sitting on the bottom. The main large pier will be reconstructed with a series of float attached to the end. The Marine Services requests reflective tape on all floats, which is his standard comments. The design, in my opinion, meets the town's dock policy because it's kind of the rehabilitation of a pre-existing use. Eddie's been there since, God, I can remember when he filed in the early 90s to rehab this place when he first acquired it.
82, I think it's been.
This has been here for many, many years, and he does some boat storage on his landward areas when it's not the season. So what I would suggest the board, because this is a licensed structure, this, again, majority of all these things are licensed in a prior license, but it's being relicensed for the new proposed system. So recommendations for the board: Westport Conservation should approve the new dock design with through flow decking over the eelgrass with standard dock conditions, pending any adverse comments from Mass Division of Marine Fisheries.
All right. Sound good?
That sounds good to me.
Any questions or comments from anyone? If not,
Motion to approve. Second.
all right, Kevin and Jake Leon, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mass DMF might have to go back to work and they're contemplating what they're gonna do.
I talked to them a couple of times, and all they said.
They have reason not to answer your phone calls.
I just
No, they're
said,
not
just give
federal.
me an email, give me something that says you're
Everyone's gonna be
good.
going back to on that.
On the state level?
I don't see why not.
Look at the government you have.
I think you're gonna see something happen.
Yeah.
When people start seeing financial cost of holding on to buildings and not using them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
All right,
No,
thanks,
thank you.
Sean. All right, so.
That concludes our agenda, Mr. Chairman. All we would have is the bills and whatever other items that we may have
Yeah,
in the orange folder.
all right, we've got a couple of bills here. Who is this? WB Mason for $22.79, looking for a motion to pay.
Motion to pay.
Second.
All right, that's Phil and Bert, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
There's a lot of Masons there.
Yeah, so, want to just go through all of these and then send the whole folder down?
Sure.
Does that work? Do that right?
We do it and send them down anytime we want.
Yeah, okay.
We get them forwarded.
Another one, WB Mason, $93.96.
Move to pay.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Still on.
Who's, Phil and who, Bert?
Yeah.
Sean, you still around for a couple more months?
Oh, so Phil and Jake.
Yeah.
Phil and Jake.
Go, Jake.
Okay.
All right, another WB Mason, $10.34, if no motion to pay.
Motion to pay.
Second.
That's Kevin and Jake. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Add them all up at once. Or wouldn't you just add all the
Doge?
WB and Mason?
They come in at different times, so.
Wouldn't you just have one, just?
That's how Leon does it, so what is that?
That's the way they
Why are you in
come.
such a rush to not take?
Next time I will add them all,
30
up,
seconds.
staple them to one,
30 seconds.
okay?
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Trying to make the town more.
All right.
His voice is getting dry.
East Bay Media, $184.50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That's Jake and Phil. Minutes. Let me see. January 21st. Paul was here. Okay, we had Phil, Bert, Kevin, me. So actually we can. We're missing Jake and Tom. So yeah, we can do this one. Any changes to the minutes? If not, a motion to accept.
I move we accept them.
Second.
All right, that's Bert and Kevin. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's done. June 11th.
You're never gonna get that.
with
Albatross.
Tom. We need Tom.
Need Tom.
Yeah.
Tom needs to show up one time.
Yeah, so, can't do that one. September 17th, let me see, me, Jake, Bert,
No, it's Tom.
no, can't do that one either. We didn't have Kevin, no.
Tom.
We gotta get Tom on a sabbatical.
I know. We're gonna have to withhold the stipend.
I'm gonna have to talk, I'm gonna have to have a talk with him.
In between the salary, the health benefits, and the pension and everything, I
We
mean.
might have, we
Pension.
might have
A lot of people
we might have to put him on, we might have to train him.
Yeah,
We might have to put him out on waivers and
yeah,
train him.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Okay, anyone else have anything?
The crowd.
I got another hat to put on, if I may, here. This is my fish commissioner's hat. In the near future, in the very near future, I'll be submitting an application to the CPC for a fish ladder at the Forge Pond Dam. There's a partial design done. We're looking to help supplement the marine fish and wildlife with a some kind of monies too. And obviously Conservation Commission will be heavily involved because obviously it's in a resource area. But if anybody saw, I don't know if anybody, was everybody at the presentation, Fish and Wildlife came, Brad Davis at all?
I missed that one, but I have seen the first one that they did.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, they did a net survey of fish in the Forge River and watershed, including Shingle Island, and they found some significant species, some rainbow smelt, some other things that I didn't realize were still coming up. So I was looking for some support from the Conservation Commission, maybe at the time of the application and possibly as we move forward, because I think it's a significant project. The first initial stage is, they think it's going to cost $1.2 million to do the project, which is, so they're looking for monies anywhere they can get, and we're hoping that we can help out from our end to do some things. I mean, they claim, and pretty soon we'll be doing a fish count. They claim there's significant herring still in. I have not seen that in the last couple of years, but we're hoping to do that. So I just wanted to mention it.
Where would that go? On where?
Well, it's going to go. The Ticcombe brothers, who own the dam, have agreed to allow this to go in and be a part of it, and they've actually kicked in some money to do it, which is, I think, good on there. As long as it looks nice.
So they've
They
been
don't want
getting going.
It's gonna have to zigzag.
It's a
So
very
gonna-
difficult, because of the
Yeah.
height of the dam.
It's very high,
Yes,
right?
so this is gonna
It's
be.
very high. They have a design.
That was the
that's-
whole dilemma of the project, would it work and the
Yeah, they
difficulties
claim this is
that
going to
rise.
work with the fish, unless I wouldn't call it ladder anymore, I don't know, fish way that they're solving.
Escalator.
Maze.
They have others, I've seen others, I went down to Wareham, over on Red Brook and Wareham, and over at the reservoir, Agawam Reservoir. They have a similar one, and the herring were using them. So more importantly, there's other species of fish, like I say, the rainbow smelt and brook trout, who they hope will use it because they believe that whole section, including the Shingle Island River, which is basically the Westport River going up to Lake Nokichoke, eventually they're going to put a ladder at Nokichoke, so they can go up further from there and do spawning and hopefully restore some of the species. But I just wanted to hopefully get some support from somebody.
Would you like a letter from us to make a motion to send
That would be
to
good
this?
because I'm submitting all kinds of letters with the application. I don't know, how much money we can get. I think it's a worthwhile project.
I think the board could consider someone making a motion to submit a support letter to the community preservation to request funding be considered for the much-needed fish ladder at Forge Pond Dam.
Right. I would also like to see something happen at Adamsville, but I'm not sure that's going to be doable, and I don't think it's retrievable. I don't think that herring run's ever going to come back again, but it would be nice.
Well, so when I was fish commissioner, I worked with Brad quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there was no funding available, and,
They're trying to get Mass DOT to provide funding for the fish ladder at Nokichoke because there's two giant concrete culverts that go under Route 6 that are not nearly adequate enough, and they need to be rehabbed. They're in really bad condition. I'd be afraid to drive over the bridge after I saw what the inside of those things look like. But they're looking for Mass DOT to kick in for that part of it. But they're looking right now, like I said, the Ticcone brothers have stepped up and kicked in some money to build this. We're trying to get funding from other places, including, Federal Fish and Wildlife. I happen to know a couple people up there that are trying to divert funds, so to speak. So
All right,
hopefully,
we
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Like, could someone make that motion?
And the
That'd be great.
Adamville situation is kind of an unfortunate one. The ladder wasn't, like Brad will tell you, that those herring are pretty finicky, and they just didn't build that fish ladder properly. There's plenty of fish that they won't use the ladder.
I hate to say it again, but when I was a kid, that place was chock full of herring.
Yeah.
And trout, sea run brook trout used to come up there all the time. I used to catch them. Chris knows. But that's when there used to be otter all through there and everything too.
Yeah.
And it's that's degraded. That part of the river is really degraded.
If you go down at Forge Road, if you go down, if those fish have adapted, they spawn in the little pools.
Well, he's saying they're spawning in the old, what was the mill, pond that was there.
Yeah.
But he says the habitat's so good upstream that it's worth pursuing, especially with smelt and other things. So.
Great. Okay, so looking for a motion?
Make a motion to send a letter of support for the fish ladder at Forge Pond.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So Sean, who is it? You, Chris Dunn, and who else? Are there three?
Everett.
And Everett, okay.
Yeah, Chris is up for election again.
Yeah.
I have to talk to him. I didn't even realize he got appointed last
Yeah.
year, so. I'd like to see something done.
Yeah, no, it's a great project. It's just,
I fished that stream, I fly fished that stream and have caught fish there before. Because are we still here?
We didn't adjourn, want to adjourn?
yeah. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Jake and Phil, those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed?